After the release of the first Jurassic Park, the original plan from Steven Spielberg was for there to be a sequel with its plot being centered on the missing Barbasol can. After the power gets shut off in the first film, Dennis Nedry was attacked by a dilophosaurus and the cryogenically smuggled embryos were buried under mud, which has led most people to believe that this is symbolically where the story was always intended to end. But after Michael Crichton wrote a very different scenario for his own sequel novel, The Lost World, all ideas for Jurassic Park 2 involving the cryo can were abandoned. That is, until the early 2000s, when Spielberg was gearing up for Jurassic Park 4. And it's in both this unused script and some ideas from the 2011 sequel video game that we can see what happened to the body of Dennis Nedry gets revealed, and it's pretty gruesome. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to go over some info from the John Sayles draft of Jurassic Park 4. This is the script that would have involved things like the Deinonychus soldier hybrid animals, the Kronosaurus, and even the newly made Excavaraptors that lived on Isla Nublar. They dug under the ground and waited for you like a trapdoor spider before yanking you in. Pretty crazy stuff, right? In the script, John Hammond instructs a new character named Nick Harris to go onto the first island, Isla Nublar, and retrieve Nedry's cryocan. He wants the can so that he can retroactively produce new dinosaurs that would create a sort of Judas strain and make the ones that had escaped off of the islands infertile in order to stop the dinosaurs from breaking out all over the world. Sounds pretty familiar to Dr. Wu's whole locust thing he planned on, fixing in Dominion. But anyways, to put a long story short, there's actually always been this really cool section of the script that explains what happens when Nick actually finds Dennis Nedry's body in the jungle. And it's one of the more interesting parts of JP4 that I still think would make for a really fun scene. If you're a Jurassic Park filmmaker out there listening, dude, just lift this from the script and put it in a prequel or something. I don't know. So the initial idea for JP4 was for the first act of the movie to involve Nick coming across Nedry's Jeep Wrangler on Isla Nublar. A ton of weeds were in his way, and after pulling back some of the torn canvas, we were supposed to see Nedry's skeleton, bony fingers still clutching the steering wheel. A small lizard scuttled out through one of his eye sockets in his skull, which is where Nick looks at Dennis Nedry's body and says something like, "Looks like you've dropped a few pounds."
I'm totally unappreciated in my time.
No, I honestly really like the way this scene plays out in the script, and it actually reminds me of some of the older Indiana Jones or Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which on a side note, I recently rewatched Curse of the Black Pearl. That movie is still great. It still holds up. I could see it being kind of like the scene in Predator where they're going through the jungle and find all of the bodies that have been strung up by the Yautja hunter. That would be cool in terms of coming across Dennis Nedry's skeleton. I'd love to cover all these movies on Dragon Curve one day, by the way. But anyways, believe it or not, this isn't the only place where Dennis Nedry's body was planned to be shown in a Jurassic Park sequel. While we have no idea what Spielberg and Koepp were going to do before The Lost World came out, there was the 2011 tie-in video game from Telltale that featured Nima and a Biosyn employee stumble upon the Jeep just hours after Nedry had died in the first movie.
Something just jumped me. He was on your friend here.
Oh, that's disgusting.
There was something feeding on him. What the hell kind of zoo is this?
Listen, I told you, don't worry about it.
Now, in the video game, what happens is the characters open the Jeep door and the small dilophosaurus actually darts out of the car and into the jungle. Nedry is dead with only his rotting body laying inside of it, and no real sense of what happened or how he was killed is really visible to the audience in the final video game. But in the concept art for the game, that's like a totally different story. Here we can see that the dilophosaurus killed Dennis Nedry in a way that had to have been extremely brutal. Dark handprints cover the windshield, and the dilophosaurus is seen tearing bits of his organs out like a scene from Carnosaur. And what's even worse, Dennis' face has been eaten off extremely quick. It's revealed as the screaming skull. And now you gotta admit, that would have been gnarly to see in Jurassic Park 2, even if it's just in an opening scene. Unfortunately, we never really got to see this Jeep or Nedry's skeleton or anything like this concept art or from the script of JP4 in any live action sequel to the first film, which has always been kind of a bummer to me, because if you're going to actually make a sequel to Jurassic Park and showcase the island right after the first movie, why wouldn't you want to do things like stumble across Nedry's car, or even the hat and shotgun of Robert Muldoon? Like, imagine what that would be like. In fact, I've kind of often wondered, did Ellie Sattler stumble across Muldoon's body while she was in the jungle, like finding Alan Grant? Because we see her leave the gate and then like just meet up with Grant missing her shirt after that. So what happened in between that? You know what I mean? You know, when it comes to Dennis Nedry's death scene, it is vastly different in the novel when compared to the Spielberg film, and just seeing what actually happened to him in these old ideas has always been a fun sequel idea to me. I mean, if you've never read the novel, the dilophosaurus that attacks Nedry is actually a fully grown adult that blinds him, slashes at his stomach, spilling his intestines, and then picks him up by the head in its jaws before we cut the scene and get out of there quick. So of course, none of that happens in the 1993 movie, and instead we just see the Dilo get inside of the car and Dennis starts screaming while the Wrangler shakes all over the place. Which is one of the reasons why I think exploring at the very least his skeleton has always been such a great payoff in my mind to what was done in that first movie. Can you imagine a guy in the jungle like slowly uncovering reeds and just seeing like Nedry's skeleton there? It's cool. It's Jurassic Park. It's old school. It's fun. But look, with the new video game Jurassic Park Survival coming soon, we may finally get to see stuff like this in the canon. But look guys, just imagine how much more interesting it would have been if Zach and Gray, or even Owen Grady and Claire, had stumbled across the cryocan in Jurassic World or Fallen Kingdom. I really think that was a missed opportunity that would have been extremely fun. And Dennis Nedry's skeleton has always been a fun reveal in the JP4 script and the concept art for the Telltale games, just like a brutally cool follow-up to what happens after the cryocan gets covered in mud. Truthfully, we can still do a scene like this if it takes place before the eruption of Mount Sibo, and with David Koepp as screenwriter, it's something that I think would be just incredible. Even if it's just a flashback scene with Peter Ludlow, Dr. Wu, or a group of park workers surveying the island, just coming across his corpse in something like 1994, 1995, it would be killer, man. If you think this would be a cool idea, let me know in the comments section down below. And also, would you like to see newer material explore this stuff when it comes to following up the story in further entries? I just think this is cool Jurassic Park stuff to talk about. Anyways, I've talked long enough. Whatever your own thoughts and opinions on this concept art and the script for Jurassic Park 4 happen to be, I'd love to hear all about it, guys, in the comments down below. Now, before I go, I want to thank everyone that's helped me build my channel over the years. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys who've watched my stuff. You've all been extremely cool to me. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and hope that you'll consider subscribing. God bless you all. Christ is King. See you guys in the next video, and as always, take it easy.